Welcome again to the Optimal Longevity Series. My name is Dr. Kort, and I'm here with Joanette Biebesheimer. And tonight's topic will be addiction. But first, I'd like to get a little bit of things out of the way. I've got to do our statements, our disclaimer statement. Let's see.
Okay.
These statements and comments have not been evaluated by the Food and Drug Administration. This information is for educational purposes only and includes recent advances in research on micronutrients. Engage, the micronutrient company, does not claim that our products diagnose, treat, cure, heal, or prevent any disease or injury. Engage's products do, however, address our deficiencies and provide our bodies with the nutrition we are lacking. Nothing here is intended to be a substitute for the treatment or a visit to your primary healthcare provider. Looks like you're
Let me see. Dr. Prasad, we need you to unmute, please. All right.
Unmuted.
Perfect. And Miss Brandy Sturdivant, we need you to be unmuted too, please. All right. So tonight, Dr. Prasad, we are kicking off the next part of our November Mental Health Month and, on addictions.
Yeah,
And it's one of the topics that's really touchy, but it needs to be addressed because it is an epidemic. And as I was preparing for you today, not only did I pull up your paper that you wrote on addictions and micronutrients, I also just wanted to get a feel for what's really going on out there. So I pulled up another research paper and a short video. Are you ready for that?
I'm ready for it.
And then we're also going to have a great testimony tonight. So it's going to
great.
It's going to be great. All right. So let me share screen and we'll get up. First one. Let's see. Minute and then
Fentanyl is a highly potent opioid. It's at least 50 times more potent than heroin. People are being exposed to fentanyl without knowing it. And because it's so highly potent, people are dying at unprecedented rates. What's happened in the United States is fentanyl has entered into all these different parts of our drug supply, including the heroin supply. Cocaine, for example, have increasingly been tainted with fentanyl. Pills that are sold on the street that might look like regular prescription pills are very often fake counterfeit pills that have been made with fentanyl in them. Someone experiencing an overdose will have this decrease in breathing, might lose consciousness, might start to turn blue or pale, and within a few minutes can die. Narcan is sprayed up the nose, which is very easy for people to administer. It's safe, it's effective. There's virtually no downside to doing so. It's a critical tool that I encourage everybody to carry with them, to have in their homes so that they can act quickly if they need to. From 2019 to 2021, overdose deaths among 10 to 19-year-olds in the United States more than doubled. In pediatrics, we're not used to our young, healthy patients suddenly dying from things like overdoses, but it's increasingly become a reality for so many of us who practice right now. I have had patients die. I've had patients whose family members have died. And all of these people are children, brothers, sisters, moms, dads, family members, and they're all loved. And these deaths are often unexpected and tragic.
all right. You know, Dr. Prasad, when I hear this, you know, it's devastating. And I know it's just heart-wrenching. I also pulled up some stuff on veterans and the comorbidity of PTSD and substance abuse. And it's just, you know, we need to help them. And I know that your work is such a novel, important approach to addictions. This has never been discussed before. I've never heard us talk about this topic, but let's go ahead and pull up the next paper that I found, what's currently going on out there, and then let's go to your paper and let's come up with some strategies for people that are on there. Every life on here has been touched by addictions.
You know, Joanette, when we were watching that, I didn't realize you were going to play that video. And I realized that just last week, one of my colleagues' children died of a fentanyl overdose. And so it hit me really hard. I wasn't expecting that, but no one's immune to this. It is so common. So here we go.
Let's pull up, let me see, back up here. But we have hope, everybody on here, that your lives are being
Did you want to do Dr. Prasad's accolades? Or
I forgot to do his accolades. Hang on.
can we do that real quickly?
Yes. Can you guys see Dr. Prasad's accolades? Dr. Prasad, can you see them?
Yeah, I can see them. Yeah.
Okay.
So sorry.
First, we'd like to do your accolades, although I can't see all of them.
Very
Oh.
good.
Yeah, we need to let everybody know how awesome you are, the living legend.
The living legend, Dr. Prasad, professor at the University of Colorado School of Medicine for more than 30 years, director of vitamin and cancer research, former president of the International Society of Cancer and Nutrition, member of the London British Society of Medicine, and Nobel Prize. He was also asked to sit on the Nobel Prize nominating committee for cancer in medicine. Dr. Prasad, the world's first PhD radiological biologist, because he finished his 7.5-year program in 3 years, was also awarded 7 US patents on micronutrients and discovered the anti-cancer potency of vitamin E succinate, as well as butyric acid and the anti-cancer agent. Dr. Prasad has authored more than 32 textbooks. We know for a fact he's published more than 303 peer-reviewed articles and listed in PubMed well over 450 times.
And many topics such as cancer, diabetes, neurological diseases, radiation, stressors like e-cigarettes and things like that, and then also now anti-aging. But tonight's topic is because 2 weeks ago we talked about PTSD. We are now transitioning to addictions, and it's so important. So Dr. Prasad, before we go into the literature, do you have anything you'd like to say before we start going into?
This is very frightening. This is a frightening issue. And at least if our approach looks like it has supported by the data published that I have seen it, and so we can help a great deal to those people who have opioid addiction. We know why it causes addiction. We know what happens biochemically in addiction, what happens when you withdraw, like when you use methadone or some other kind of a agonist of the opioid receptor, and then you feel a withdrawal symptoms because you can't have, opioid can't stimulate dopamine. So there's a lot of things that we know about it, and there's a lot of things we can do to reduce it and prevent it as well.
All right. There is hope for everybody. There isn't a life on here, on this call, whether you're live or we're going to watch this, that hasn't been touched by addictions. Fun. So let's go ahead and let me get to the research. Yeah. That's not what I wanted. Stop share. Okay, what's this? This is what I want. It's still not coming up.
Close that.
Okay, let me see if I can. Thank you. Uh-oh. I don't know if I can pull it up now, Dr. Kort. I apologize, everyone. When I did that, I just, I took off everything else.
Just talk it, if you can do it, just talk briefly what paper says.
I'm sorry, Dr. Prasad, let me just.
That's okay.
Technology. While you're talking, so Dr. Kort, maybe you can talk with him a little bit while I see if I can get up the addiction paper real quick. Okay? Because hang on, see if I can get here. I have it.
Good.
Okay, I have it. I just had to. Oh, there. Technology, everyone, give me one.
You are better than me, tell you that.
You know what? I'm a biochemist. I'm not a technology wizard, but I had to. Here we go. Okay, here. I have it. I have it now. So Dr. Prasad, I wanted to pull this one up. This is a paper that's a 2020 paper that's recent out there that was just dovetailing your research on how oxidative stress and neuroinflammation as a pivot in drug abuse. And I'm actually in this paper, they talk about an antioxidant approach, and they actually mention glutamate also as really an approach that it has great potential.
Yeah.
This is, for people on here, this is separate from Dr. Prasad's work. This paper really is supporting, his current research. But so this is a good one, Dr. Prasad. And then actually here's your paper. I was reading it, so I'm going to go to the beginning. Sorry, everyone. This paper, you want to walk us through, Dr. Prasad, this paper that you wrote in 2020?
Yeah. I mean, this paper shows that why you have opioid addiction. And, so I think the reason is because when opioid has a specific binding protein on the cell, on your nerve neuron, and when they bind it, both those receptors, there are 3 different types of receptor. And when they bind it, they stimulate the production of dopamine. And dopamine, as you know, makes you high, very high and very happy. And so if it were continuously high level, and then you don't give it, if you don't stimulate it, then you feel withdrawal syndrome. And so the question is that what we can do to block the receptor, or what the opiate does to your body, and that enhances the binding of the opiate to the receptors, for example. And so the question is what we can do to bind something so that receptor is not stimulated by opiate or any kind of opiate, synthetic, like you were mentioning, more dangerous. But any kind of, they all require receptors to increase it. And so we found out that, for example, the classical one is methadone, has been used forever, and they are antagonistic, and so they bind with the receptor. So opiate cannot stimulate and produce dopamine. But when then you have then you feel like withdrawal syndrome. You are very unhappy, and during that time, there is a high level of increased oxidative stress and inflammation. There was another study that has been mentioned that I remember that one time when I was visiting the NIH to give a lecture, then Marshall Nirenberg, as you know, he was a Nobel laureate for messenger RNA. His postdoctoral fellow was an Indian lady, and she was working on a vitamin C and opioid receptor. And she demonstrated that, and I think she has published somewhere, but that vitamin C, the blocks the binding of the opioid with the receptor. So receptor, they occupied receptor for somehow the vitamin C blocks so that you cannot have any more dopamine production, and then you feel withdrawal syndrome. If you block it, like methadone does it, then you feel withdrawal syndrome. And during withdrawal syndrome, your life becomes very miserable because there is increased oxidative stress and inflammation, and that can causes a lot of damage to a lot of your organ and cause neurocognitive function, decline in neurocognitive function, all kind of things, as you know, neuroinflammation and oxidative stress. So there comes the antioxidant, and people have tried individually, and they found this has been very useful in reducing the withdrawal symptom of withdrawal. And
single antioxidant, just one single.
Yeah, antioxidant. But our approach, as you know, has been because one antioxidant is not sufficient to reduce oxidative stress and chronic inflammation, neuroinflammation in all parts of the brain. It is not possible. That's why we have approached that it is a multiple antioxidant that can reduce oxidative stress. And then once you get rid of withdrawal syndrome symptom, you recover from withdrawal symptoms, then you don't have any more craving for going back again. And so it is amazing, simple solution that can prevent, if you are using any kind of medication like methadone is commonly used, but methadone, if you use it, suddenly you have symptoms of withdrawal because now opiate can't bind with the receptors and can't stimulate dopamine and can't make you happy. So you feel suddenly withdrawal syndrome, and during that syndrome, there are more increase in the oxidative and inflammation. Even if you are taking opiate alone, for example, that generates in your body a lot of oxidative stress and inflammation. So when you withdraw it, it markedly enhances all these two things. So the question is that if you reduce it, oxidative stress and inflammation during withdrawal syndrome, and once you recover fully, because it is not overnight, it will take gradually because withdrawal syndrome is slow process. And so within a month, I would guess within a month. And then once you recover that, you don't have an antioxidant also prevent craving for opiate. That's another very important function. Maybe it is because once you have oxidative stress, your neuron feels happy, and therefore it is possible that you don't have any more craving for opiate because dopamine is not very much, because dopamine gets stimulated all the time. Serotonin does increase dopamine, but it transiently, so it is not that it's a continuous phenomena. And that is one of the difference with transient increase in dopamine or sustained increase in dopamine in your cell.
Well, I know a couple things that the three opioid receptors, mu, kappa, and delta, that pharmaceutical companies spend multi hundreds of millions of dollars on those three.
And there are three. There is a methadone and an agent called naloxone.
Naloxone.
Yeah, and then another is buprenorphine. So these are three major agents that are used and to prevent the opiate addiction. But it prevents opiate addiction, but it has withdrawal syndrome, and there is no mechanism what you do with withdrawal syndrome when person is having a withdrawal symptom. There is nobody have approached anything. We have proposed this idea that if you take the combination of, say, CBD, because there is also in this situation glutamate, like you mentioned, glutamate get released too, and that's another neurotoxic. So if you combine the CBD and Kort 4, it would be very, very important for reducing the symptoms of withdrawal, and furthermore reducing the craving for opiate, so that if you don't have a craving for getting opiate, you are cured, and maintain that.
So I don't see anybody addressing that aspect.
No.
They'll do CBT, or other types of therapies, right, Dr.
Right.
Kort?
No,
but I'm not seeing anybody. So does the antioxidant, so just be clear to recap, does it help at all fill the specific the multi micronutrient approach that you have? Does it fill the actual opioid mu delta kappa receptor?
Right.
And it helps with oxidative stress, both.
Right, exactly.
Okay.
Yeah, and it is very important that it does this help. And of course, for example, all people, whether you have any kind of things, they always have intestinal dysbiosis. So you have to also take care of that. Omega-3 is so important for brain function, and it is what your brain function during withdrawal is affected. So you have an opioid receptor. In these situations, I did not see any reason for collagen peptides thus far has not been implicated anything, but it doesn't hurt anybody. I mean, it will be yes or no, but for other point of your health, this may be important, but not for addiction.
Do you think that there's any reason to say increase the omega-3s more than what you already have? Do they need a second bottle of omega-3 to help with this?
I mean, omega-3 is so important. Instead of 1 capsule a day, you can have a 2 capsule a day. You see what I mean? So I think in this scenario, because it's an acute issue.
But there's no contraindication if they
No.
So if they wanted to take
I don't think so. I don't think there's a contraindication, but I have no idea if you take a 4 or 5 is a costly. So I don't know. Economy does not permit you. Plus, you don't get any extra benefit. And
Well,
so
it's more costly to die from an opiate addiction.
Or any addiction. But I do know that right now, a lot of research, they're using 4 grams of omega-3s, Dr. Prasad. So I mean.
Yeah. I mean, that's why I said that if you give, no, I mean, but see, they give alone. That's the thing. If you give only one agent alone, whether it's antioxidant, then you have to give super high dose. Even vitamin C, they have given a 30,000 30 grams of vitamin C. So to see any effect with a single ingredient, you have to have a lot of things, a lot of high doses. So is the omega-3. But when you do a combination of the thing, you don't require as much high doses as you think in the literature, because literature always try one agent at a time. And to see biological effect, you have to have that kind of, sometimes people use 5 or 10 grams of omega-3 fatty acids, short term. But in this case, you want to maintain it, so you don't want to go back again. And so whatever you think, I think, in my opinion, right now, to start with will be a good and enough sufficient amount to start it.
Mm-hmm.
And as you need it, you can increase it. And you can increase both the antioxidant, instead of preventive dose, you can take it in the beginning and like a twice, not therapeutic dose, but twice the preventive dose.
So I've got a couple questions. So what about other types of addiction, substance abuses? Alcohol.
Same issue is similar.
Okay.
Alcohol addiction is same, except it doesn't go through a receptor. Alcohol has a different mechanism of addiction that you feel high, but I'm not sure if that dopamine goes high.
Okay.
But it's a transient high, and you want to be like that, I'm sure any kind of addiction, when you have, the addiction always generates a lot of inflammation in your body, a lot of free radicals in your body. And your first job is how to take care of that. And if you're alcoholic chronic one, you also have intestinal dysbiosis. You have brain function deteriorations. So at least 3 components of the 4 core, micronutrient, intestinal dysbiosis, omega-3 is a must to get rid of addiction. Nobody ran clinical study, but the biology, what people have tried with one agent at a time, I think this approach could be very useful.
And what do you think about maybe like when we look at the 2 defense systems, the antioxidant defense system?
So that's why CBD comes, because CBD not only acts by itself, but also it stimulates the endocannabinoid system.
Mm-hmm.
It's probably important during that time too to take away other addictions like sugar and.
Well, sugar addiction, those are a different kind of addiction, Sugar addiction can lead to disease, but nobody is dying like the way you described, 60,000 people dying it. When I see 1918 statistics, 130 people die every day.
Amazing.
For addiction. This is a more serious problem than any other disease. The question is how you approach, do we have sometime access to the opiate group of clinician or where they do a therapy of addiction, something like that, where they use a methadone and all these kind of things, but nothing antioxidant or our approach. So whether we can convince those group of people, that try this approach. It is the worst thing would be that it has no effect, but literature suggests it will have a dramatic effect.
Do you think it's the same too, Dr. Prasad? We want to get to our guests, but is it the same for like oxycodone and things like that?
Oxycodone is another form of a opiate.
Yeah.
Okay. So I want to transition to cannabis, to THC, and let's talk about that and this approach. What do you think about that?
Yeah, I mean, again, their CBD has been very helpful because the cannabinoid, this THC it makes you feel good. People do it, but if you are a chronic user of that, then it decreases your cognitive functions. It affects remarkably your brain, and then you become addicted to, and then it's just like opiate. But opiate have a different kind of receptor. THC works through a different kind of receptor, and so there also the people have shown that the CBD alone, people have tried, they protect against potential toxicity of THC. So those people who are a chronic but they're at risk of very high level of memory loss and other neurological function too, could develop all kind of neurological diseases later on. Recreational, many states are making illegal recreational things, and but people, as long as you take once in a while, it will. I guess I don't take it, but if somebody takes it, is okay. If a state allows it, since they allows it, people say, yeah, I want to have fun. So, okay, one evening in a party, you're going to smoke, but I would not recommend it. But if you want to do it, you do it. But not next day, you are not going to do it again until you have next party.
Well, Dr. Prasad, we have our special guest on. I'm glad that we talked about those particular topics. But I want to introduce my friend, Brandy Sturdivant, on here. And not only is she my friend, she's an amazing author. And
she's courageous.
She's very courageous.
She's incredibly courageous, because this is not an easy topic to talk about. And vulnerability and courage is a huge part of this, even amongst families and so forth. We have all kinds of folks that, even in my own family, people had addictions. I didn't realize it because they keep them buried. So
yes, very courageous.
Amazing, courageous woman.
Yes. So Miss Brandy is an author. And once you know more about her, you can find her books, Brandy Sturdivant, online. She has a book that she wrote on nutrients and engaged products for 2023. And she wrote an amazing book that I love about fasting and prayer and 21 Days to Freedom.
Are you the mother of Journey?
Yeah.
Mother of Journey. I thought I met you,
Yes. She's the mother of Journey. And so she's an amazing human being, and she's on here tonight.
Of course she is. Yeah.
She's going to share her journey and why she's on here, and I know it will inspire everybody. But Brandy, thank you for sharing.
No problem. Thank you for having me. I appreciate the nice introduction. So, what do you want me to say? Like my experience, or
I would
okay.
an overview of your experience and really, most importantly, where you are now, and your age and your lifestyle and that kind of stuff. So people,
the generational
what led you to try first in the first time? What led you?
Okay.
What were you thinking?
So I was 18 when I started smoking weed. And I had tried it before, like Dr. Prasad said, like I had did it at a party or something, and then I didn't do it again the next day. But after my mom got sick and we didn't know what in the world was going on, I tried it again, and then it stuck. So it was the trauma and the stress of my mom, my security, that led me to become addicted, or lowered my dopamine or whatever he was just explaining in my body. And so I became a chronic user of weed. I smoked from the time I was 18 until I was 28, like multiple times a day, like smoked more than I ate. And it was like that the whole time. Like it was like as soon as I did it, it was like that. It wasn't like a gradual buildup. It was like instant. So, and then also another thing that happened to me when my mom first got sick is my digestive system shut down. So I wasn't digesting any of my food. And as soon as I ate, I had to go to sleep. So that is true that my gut was messed up. And then therefore this was my new dopamine, basically, was the weed. And so when I got pregnant with my daughter is when I stopped for the first time. And I noticed that although I wasn't smoking weed, I was still like I was watching a lot of TV shows. Like if I wasn't working, I was just binge watching TV shows constantly on Netflix, Hulu, Amazon. I was running out of shows to watch. So it was like the addiction transferred to something else for that time. And then when I was done breastfeeding, I started smoking again. And it just progressed like it had been before. And so when I was 31, whenever we found Engage Global, so we had went on a 21-day fast to find something to help mommy finish healing. And so I started taking micro daily. I had no plans of smoking weed because like I would go back and forth, like, is it bad? Is it good? It's a herb, blah, blah, blah. But like I didn't have control over it, so it's bad for me. And so I was on micro daily for about a month and a half, and I was taking the green capsules, the EMF, the brain boost, and the eye boost. And that's all I was taking. And I was taking the therapeutic dose of the EMF. And then about a month and a half of doing that, my weed, it stopped to where I would just smoke one time a day. That was like a major shift. And I didn't try to do it. It was just something that happened because my body, I guess, was getting what it needed. And so then I guess because of that, I was like thinking more clear or whatever. And I decided that I wanted to stop. Like, I was like, this is ridiculous. Like, I need to stop. And so I think maybe, I know the last time I was like in the end of May, I stopped smoking and then I stopped for 8 months. But why I started back now that I look back is I had stopped taking the micro daily so much. And so then I was smoking I had started back smoking the same multiple times a day, and that lasted for about 3 or 4 months. And then I was like, okay, this has got to stop. So I got back on micro daily and I was able to stop. And I haven't smoked since. And it's been over a year now that I haven't smoked. And I know it's a large part of it is because I had the nutrition in my body to like not need the dopamine hits, but I also have the nutrition in my body to finally deal with the trauma of my mom being sick and everything else that I was running from.
Very interesting. Well, I'm glad that you're feeling better, Brenda, and your decision. I admire your courage to even experiment on yourself because you left micro daily for a while, and then that's kind of experiment. So again, you have go back to original. This is what happened to a drug addiction. If you will start it like that, you will start having a craving. And then we said, okay, I will try once, then I'll try twice, So it is a lifetime commitment. If you want to have a good life, healthy lifestyle during aging, this is more important while you are during aging. You are young, and I'm glad that you have started it while you are young.
Me too. And
I want to
one thing else I was gonna say is that we definitely affected my short-term memory, and I can tell that it's being rebuilt. Like
Mhm.
my brain is repairing itself.
Yeah.
Well, I want to edify Brandy too. During this time when her mom was really sick, if you don't know her amazing mom, it's Brandy. Brandy Sturdivant here, and her mom's Beth Sturdivant. She was very sick. She has a book. What is it called? Exposure, Backyard Exposures.
Backyard Secret Exposed.
Backyard Secret Exposed to her journey of really, really being sick. But during that time, Brandy did get her college education. And then she went on from that. Okay, even when she was talking about what during the use, she did that. And she also went on to many healing arts, where she moved to California and studied to help her mother heal. She went to learn, mastery of massage therapy and different types of modalities to help her mother. So during this time, she was still pursuing that, but
I was a high functioning pothead. So, yeah, I was still very high functioning. I mean, some people aren't, but I was still very ambitious or whatever, but it was like when I didn't have something to keep me busy, that was what was going to keep me busy.
I have a question for you, Brandy. Because both of my kids had issues with
addictions.
drug addictions, and it's a difficult journey. What kind of advice would you give parents from your point of view to help their children through this very difficult journey?
Well, one, understand that it has something to do with chemistry. And there was some kind of trauma or something they experienced that caused them to want to escape. And if you're coming from a more understanding point of view instead of a judgmental point of view, then they'll have more ears to hear and they'll be more open about what's going on. So then you might be able to drop seeds that would help them help themselves. Because at the end of the day, to stop, it has to still be your decision. Like you have to want to stop, because like I didn't, until I saw it as a problem and that I wanted to stop, I wasn't fully committed. Like stopping wasn't even like really a thought in my brain. Like to me, it had become a part of my identity. Like this is who I am and what I do.
Were you ever concerned about this whole fentanyl issue? Because they lace a lot of weed with fentanyl, or they even grow, some places actually use fentanyl in the soil and grow the weed with fentanyl in it.
Well, when I was smoking, I don't think that they were doing that so much. Like it's become a thing now, but so now I would be worried more so about it. I would be.
That's amazing. I didn't know that. Yeah. They're putting in the
What
soil.
was your therapeutic dose that you were doing, and what micronutrients were you taking of our product that really kind of took you up over the edge to the point where you're like, this is kind of why bother?
I was taking 6 capsules in the morning and 6 at night of the green, and then I think I was taking 2 brain and 2 eye too, like 2 in the morning and 2 at night of each. And I never took the CBD, because whenever I did take the CBD, it would keep me up at night, and then I just didn't take it in the morning like they say do. I just didn't do it. But like I didn't really have anxiety or whatever. Mine was just that I think I just had things I needed to deal with, and I had deficiencies because of the oxidative stress from the trauma. Like I had a form of PTSD to stress. Like,
hang on a second. Miss Beth Sturdivant, can you please in the chat put the links to your daughter's books that she has published in the last 2 years for people that want to learn more about the books that she's written on nutrients and for her generation, so that they can live healthier in 2023, and also her fasting, her 21 Days to Freedom book.
That
And,
would be great.
and then that way people have that as well, please.
So Brandy, how long were you on that dosage before you noticed that your body was just like, I don't need this?
I think it was about a month and a half.
Okay.
And then I was stopping. And then at this time too, like I was also in a transition of my like spiritual relationship with like God and Jesus and stuff. And because of that, it also gave me the conviction I needed to like do better and take care of this vessel that I've been given. And obviously smoke of any kind is not good for your body. I mean, it doesn't matter. Like smoke was never meant to go in your lungs, even if it is a herb. So I don't know. I just had different revelations, and I think I was able to have them because of the nutrition.
I love the way you said that. You know, I call it a skin suit that I'm borrowing while I'm here. You know, my soul's on the inside, but it's a skin suit on the outside, the vessel. And that, you know, that smoke is just not good to ingest into the lungs. Makes it harder for the vessel to be healthy. Did you do any counseling, or what do you think about that?
I personally didn't do any counseling because like when I was in California and before I went, I was doing a lot of I don't know what you call it. Like, you know, I was like really into dealing with my inner person or whatever, but all that stuff didn't work for me. Like it didn't solve the problem, obviously, because I was still smoking weed to run from my stuff. But then once I like had my relationship with Jesus and started forgiving things, like the main thing I had to forgive was myself over anyone or anything. And I think going through that process of forgiving is what changed it to where I didn't necessarily need counseling, because everything happens for a reason, and you can always learn from everything and every experience, and it's up to you to change your perception of your reality. Like reality is only how you perceive it. So when you choose to think of it differently, it will be different.
There's a reason why we have this young woman on our call tonight.
So
Yeah.
I know.
Wow.
So Brandy, for everybody that's watching this live and or future, what would you say to them if they had somebody in their life that had an addiction of any kind? Is there hope for them by putting some of these nutrients in their body to be able to help them with that addiction and then from the withdrawals? Do you really think that this is
Yes, and that was another thing I wanted to say, because I didn't have any withdrawals when I stopped. And the main thing that would happen to me when I stopped smoking was I wouldn't be able to sleep at night, and I wouldn't be hungry. I wouldn't have an appetite. And so with the micro daily, I never experienced not being able to sleep at night once I decided to stop. And that was like one of the reasons why I smoked too, was to go to sleep at night. And then I would wake up in the middle of the night and have to smoke again to be able to go back to sleep, or wake up real early in the morning and smoke and go back to sleep. But I didn't have any issues sleeping, and I didn't lose my appetite at all when I stopped smoking.
See, the TH works in a different way than opiate does. So it is not mediated by dopamine. It has a different, I forgot the different receptors, but it has a different action. And that makes you addicted to have that. But next time when I talk, I will find out a little more about THC. But they have different mechanisms. They don't increase the dopamine. This much I know.
How prevalent do you think amongst your group peers is this addiction issue that we're talking about this evening?
I would say like, I feel like probably 80% of people have an addiction. Probably about 50% of people have one to a substance. And almost everybody that I met smoked weed. Like, and I don't know that everybody smoked it as much as I did, but they still smoked it kind of consistently.
The beats is one thing. you don't see too many deaths because of the opiate addiction. I mean, THC addiction, but because it is much more gradual than opiate, and like you did, it can be recovered quickly, not quickly, month. I mean, from opiate point of view, this is quick, and so I think it's a different mechanism, and I think many people are even addicted. But what happens that if they don't take care of earlier, then they, when they grow a little older, get more addicted, then you have all kind of neurological issues, not only memory loss, but other kind of neurological issue.
Yeah, I saw a study from Dr. Amen on the brain from someone who smokes weed versus alcohol versus opioids. And honestly, weed was doing the most damage to the brain. And that was something else that like scared me. And I was like, I try and act like I care so much about my body, but I'm doing this. So like I felt very convicted to try and change my habits because they weren't good.
I'm glad you did it when you did it. And so I think this is an important lesson for everybody who wants to, like you said, who wants to be, get rid of and have a different kind of life. But if you don't want, I don't think, we talk about all antioxidant things. Like many people are suffering, but they don't care. They don't pay attention to. And looks like that this kind of addiction, whether it's opiate is probably a white population or two. In other words, economically less privileged, have a higher incidence of opiate addiction and other kind, possibly alcohol addiction, other kind of addiction as well, and especially in veterans. That's why suicide rate among veterans is very high, because they are also using opiate. Mm-hmm. Some patients start opiate as a pain medication, doctor recommends it, but it becomes then more and more and more addictive, then you get addiction. Well, so then doctor is also responsible for recommending. Actually, I have lower back pain, and so doctor have tried few things, didn't work, but then he said, well, only alternative you have is the opiate. I said, forget about it. I will clear this, because I want to maintain my brain functional for a while. And if I take an opiate, I'm done. But I mean, it is not that I'm incapable of, working on anything, but I was surprised that doctor is so easily recommend that you take opiate.
I had a lot of friends in high school, and I'm just getting ready to have my 40th class reunion. And those that smoked in high school, many of them are still smoking, but they're very unhealthy at this point. And also, I don't even know how many have committed suicide or died early as a result of that. And, we see that in our veteran population too, because
exactly.
And then you're on the cannabis.
Yeah.
Sometimes they make really poor decisions that become permanent.
Yeah, exactly. Sometimes you shift, when you get addicted to THC, and then you said, okay, I think I can try some other thing like opiate. And there are many different types of opiate, and then you get stuck.
Yeah.
So question is to stop craving. How do you stop craving? And if your body is healthy, you won't have a craving for opiate or any kind of addiction.
Yeah, I haven't craved weed since I stopped. And cause in the gap when I had kind of fell back on taking the micro daily, and then I had started back smoking, and then I started back consistently with micro daily, I hadn't put 2 and 2 together yet until later. And then I was like, oh, that's why I was able to stop in a way. And I think I went through that process just so I would know that these nutrients really did assist me in being able to not crave it, and also be able to stop without
being able to sleep.
Withdrawal symptoms.
Yeah, I mean, by accident, you did the experiment on yourself.
Yeah.
For strengthening. The
So
road-
like no one can tell me that that's not true because it's true. It's at least true for me. And I'm very thankful. So thank you, Dr. Prasad, for helping me with your product. Cause I didn't, you would ask me, I'm like, I don't have any issues. I'm just here for maintenance, but that really wasn't true. And I think majority of society, they might think that they don't have any health issues, but if you have an addiction, you have a health issue.
Yeah, exactly.
Brandy, how young are you?
Yeah, how young are you?
I am 33. I turned 33 in August.
Man, she's young.
Hey, Leo. So then the next question is, would you ever get off these nutrients?
No, I would not. And I'm thankful I have them for my daughter because then even if she does go through trauma, it's not gonna affect her like it affected someone who's not on micronutrients.
Definitely.
Like it helps your body deal with it. And then I think that's the other issue is people don't know how to cope with trauma, so then they fall into an addiction. Like they don't even realize they're going through trauma. Like
Yeah.
like when my mom was sick, I couldn't process what was happening on a day-to-day basis. Like it was too much. So I needed something to distract me, or I needed to be busy. Like I needed to be busy with something so I didn't have to deal with what I didn't want to deal with because I didn't know how to deal with it.
I mean, that's very important because if people feels really bored or depressed, have nothing to do, for example, that's the time they feel like, okay, let me try something else. But if you are active in your life, physically, mentally, doing the jobs, or even if you're retired like me, I work like 6-7 hours a day.
Well, there's
Because I
lectures.
enjoy it, doing it, So the question is, whatever you do, you enjoy it. One of the major reasons for addiction is you feel bored. I mean, psychologically. And of course, like our troops get exposed to so many trauma. That's a different issue. And even under that kind of condition, if you take care biochemically, your body needs, then you can come out of that. At least you have a good quality life for a while.
Right, because we're a 3-part being, so we have to take care of all the parts, and everything we experience is affected on all parts of our being, whether it's the physical, the mental, or the spiritual.
Yeah.
So you have to address all 3. Like you can't just take micronutrients and then neglect your mental and spiritual side and think you're going to be good, because you're not.
It's very important to have some spiritual aspect of life, that you relax, you do meditation. Meditation is a form of rituals that relaxes you. I do every morning for about 30 minutes. And Hindu ways, and so that is a kind of a spiritual experience. And so I think it's a combination, but most important thing is what you do, you are happy with.
Right.
Then you will never have any problem. I mean, you will have problem a little bit, but if you take care of your body biochemically and you are happy, then you can at least go as far as I'm going. 89, almost 1 month away.
I know, I can't wait for that party.
Yeah. I'm looking forward to it.
So proud of you.
Yes.
We are so proud of you. We are so blessed for your courage and your amazing wisdom.
Yes, I have to say that totally.
And I thank you, and I thank you for being such an amazing mom to that little girl's journey.
Journey will outpace you.
She's going to be like you, plus.
Yeah.
And you're doing a great job. You're doing a great job as a mom. We're so happy to have you in our engaged family. We love you. And if you ever need anything, you can always call us. But we're so proud of you. We are just so proud of you. And
she's going to give hope to all the people on here that they can do it too. They've got loved ones, and that this testimony, it took a lot. So I like
to read about book. I don't know where you get it.
We'll get you a book. We'll bring you Brandy's books in Las Vegas.
Okay, good. I'm happy.
Will you sign them for Dr. Prasad?
Of course.
Yeah, right.
All right.
Make sure that the journey also signs it.
Okay.
few tears there, a few
Yeah.
emotional, so heartstrings being pulled. Thank you, thank you, thank you. This has been the Optimal Longevity Series. And please, for those that were on this call, get back to the people that put you on the call so that you can get these nutrients in your body. Do you have anything else you want
Yeah,
to add?
and you can watch Optimal Longevity Series on YouTube on your Team Serve. And next week is going to be on anxiety. So this is the mental health month of November, and we'll be wrapping up. We'll be in Tyler, Texas next Tuesday.
And we have to thank you, Brandy, for always taking these videos and getting them on for us onto the Optimal Longevity Series, because without you, we wouldn't have these archived. And we appreciate you so much behind the scenes, helping to make sure that we can continue to share this content with people. But you're a rock star, and we're so glad that you're in our lives.
Thank y'all.
So
I
proud of you.
appreciate it.
So proud of you.
I know I'm crying. I can't talk.
You have anything you want to say?
No, that's it. But everybody can unmute and thank Miss Brandy
Yes,
and Dr.
please,
Prasad.
please.
for
Thank
their-
you, Dr.
Brandy. Thank you.
Thank you, Brandy and Dr. Prasad.
Thank you, Dr. Prasad. Thank you, Brandy. Your story is very compelling. Dr. Kort, thank you very much. Love all of you guys. Have a wonderful day.
God bless you, Brandy.
Yes.
All
Bye-bye.
right, everyone. See you next Tuesday. Thank you, Brandy.
Thank you,
Bye.
Brandy.
Thank y'all.
Tuesday.
Thank you. See you guys next Tuesday. Love you guys. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.